In this video, we'll be going from this to this. I'll give some background, show the options we considered, what light we went with, the unboxing, the installation process, the struggles, the final setup, and my review, along with some other top Amazon reviews so you can decide if this light is something you need on your porch. Next, for a little background and new light intro. As I mentioned in this previous video, a family member gave me this light, which I installed at my house. This light was perfect for me because it was free and I didn't have any must-haves for a front porch light, but she did, and she also needed two lights. So we scoured Amazon for ones that met her needs, which include certain sizes, motion activation, dusk till dawn feature, and changing from dim to full when motion is detected. We settled on this pair, which met all the criteria and at a good price. And these are the ones we'll be replacing, which she's had for about 10 plus years and painted about 10 times. After ordering on Amazon, our package arrived in 2 days and it was time to unbox. In the box we got the package containing instructions, brackets, extra screws and nuts, along with electrical nuts, and of course these lights. Now it's time to start the install. We'll start by turning off the power to the current lights by flipping the switch on the inside. To be extra safe, you may want to flip the breaker. This will prevent anyone from accidentally flipping the switch and giving you a nice scare. As you can tell here, I'm using my handy non-contact voltage tester to make sure no power is getting to the wires I'm about to touch. Now I'm going to get the old bracket out of the way so I can get access to my wiring. One thing I noticed here is that someone before me used drywall screws to install the bracket. Since our new light did come with a few extras, I'll try to switch those out, but likely these have damaged the threads, but we'll see. This is the box and wires we'll be working with, and thankfully we have plenty of length on these wires. Now we'll go ahead and remove the new bracket from the light so we can install it. And this is probably a good time to mention this bracket will end up giving me trouble. As you can tell, the screws are extra long, and to shorten them you unscrew from the back. But the back part of this bracket acts as a stop, which stops it before the screws are short enough. I wish they would have included a spare set of screws that were shorter for this part of the bracket. They did include some spare screws for the mounting box, but they were too thick to be used on this part of the bracket. Alright, the bracket is installed, and this is the set screw, which prevents it from going up and down like you just saw. Nice and tight. Now it's time to wire it up, and as you can tell, I always use the non-contact voltage tester to make sure there's no voltage running through the wires before I touch them. The wire nuts that came with the light gripped a little bit better, so I switched to those, and I'm giving it a pull test to make sure both wires are in there secure. There's nothing worse than a wire popping out when you're trying to shove everything back into the box. And oh yeah, do not test for electricity like that. Now you can see why the long screws will cause a problem. The decorative nut that comes with these lights grabs only a few threads, which leaves a lot of the screw left, which causes the light to sag or pull away from the wall. Here's that sag I was talking about. Not only does it cause a sag, but it also makes it very loose, which is my main concern. I did piddle around with this bracket for an insane amount of time to make sure I wasn't missing something. The only fix I could come up with, I did on the second light, so I'll show you that as well so you can see what I did. This is the bracket on the second light, and this is one of the shorter spare screws that came in the package. I was hoping this could be used, but they ended up being too thick to thread into this part of the bracket. From working on the other light, my idea was maybe to cut the screw down to size, and then when I started working on this second light, I could tell the person before me had the same idea, as you can tell there. I needed a pair of linesman wire cutters to get this job done quickly, but didn't have one, so I resorted to the osculating tool, which wasn't easy but got the job done. One tip, don't leave the screw in the bracket threads when doing this. It ended up stripping them slightly, which was almost a big deal. Instead, use a vise, or like I did here, maybe some vice grips, and also make sure you're cutting up towards the head of the screw because you want to keep the other side intact so you can thread into the bracket. On my first attempt, the threads were too short, so I had to take the bracket back off and adjust it a bit. This is where those stripped threads almost cause an issue. And this screw still has a head on it because I was able to reuse one of the screws from the old bracket, which was a little bit shorter. And as you can tell here, we're doing the test run without wiring it up just to make sure we have enough screws sticking out. Then we're going to go back and wire it up. And I think that's going to work. Alright, so this one's going on much tighter, and I'm going to have to go back and address the other at a later date. Not that anyone's going to notice other than you and I, but with one being tight against the wall and the other sagging a little bit, they do look slightly off. I'll probably pick up some lineman's pliers from a Harbor Freight and revisit at a later date. I may make a quick video on that just so you can see the process and how much the Harbor Freight pliers are compared to the ones on Amazon. Alright, this is the finished product. I think they look awesome. Let's get some bulbs in there and make sure they work. Man, that would be so bad if one of them wasn't working from the factory. Fingers crossed. The bulb is in, and now I've got to ask everybody, does anyone else's family member put post-it notes on everything? As you can tell here, this is for the outside light, so we'll go ahead and switch that. Alright, this side's working, motion's working, and that side's working as well, so awesome. Here is a list of the different modes. You can pause and read if needed, but basically as soon as you flip the switch, it goes into test mode, which is helpful during the install. Then it'll revert back to whichever mode you have it set to, high or low. High is the one I like, which makes it 30% dimmable at night and 100% when motion is detected. Low just skips that 30% part. The low and high switch can be found under the cap as shown here. I did a few drive-bys at night to see how well the dim mode looked, and it does look good, and how far the motion picked up. Like I said, I really do like this dim function as we drive by, and honestly was surprised at how far the motion picked up. I'm about 35 feet as I drive by here, which kind of makes me wish the motion had an adjuster. The lights going to bright each time a car drives by is not ideal. Here's another drive-by, and overall I'm satisfied with this function. And also, here is an example of my house, which this light here only has the dusk till dawn feature, so it's always on. So now for my thoughts on a few reviews posted to Amazon. I'm personally satisfied with the two lights, especially for the $65 price tag. The lights are lightweight and they do feel kind of cheap, but you can't really tell that when you're looking at them. And the main thing is they do function as advertised. I would buy again, and I would even give these a 4 or 5 star rating so far. Time will tell if that sticks. 87% of the folks that reviewed these on Amazon also gave them a 4 or 5 star, and most of those comments were very similar. Works great, love the options, etc. And most of the negative reviews I ran across had to do with shipping damage or the lights just not working at all. So my guess is if they arrive to you and are working, you will be satisfied. It's hard to avoid shipping damage 100% of the time, and as you know, Amazon is great for replacements. So anyways, I hope this video helps, and I will catch you on the next one. Think about subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment below because I will have future videos that are very similar. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. God damn it, Hunter.